If I asked you, do you own your own home? You'd probably say yes. I mean, you worked for it, you paid for it, your name is on the title. But there are decisions in Ottawa that most people have never heard of that could affect just how secure that home ownership really is. I want to walk you through 3 of those decisions and what the federal Liberal government did, and perhaps more importantly, didn't do, when they had the chance to protect you and your ownership. Back in 2018, the federal government changed the instructions it gives to its own lawyers in court. In court cases about Indigenous land rights, lawyers were asked to not argue that a homeowner's land title automatically cancels out Indigenous claims to that same land. This wasn't a court decision. It wasn't a law that was passed in Parliament after a rigorous debate. It was an internal political instruction. Quiet, but important. And it changed how the federal government says it will defend property rights in court for you and for me. 7 years later, the consequences of that quiet change landed with a thud. A BC judge looked at a dispute between Indigenous land rights and government-granted land titles. In her ruling, she said, Aboriginal title is a prior and senior right to land. It sits above ordinary title in the legal hierarchy. Because of the way the case was argued, the court did not see existing deeds as overriding those Indigenous rights. What does that mean in real life? Well, in Richmond, roughly 150 property owners learned after the fact that their homes and businesses now sit inside a recognized Indigenous title area. Overnight, some ran into tough questions from banks and business partners. Is this land still safe to lend against? Is it still safe to invest in? That kind of uncertainty does not help families plan. It does not help businesses make investment decisions. It does not help British Columbia grow. That is the kind of uncertainty that spreads, and it started with decisions most people never heard about. Less than 6 months after that ruling, the Liberal government took another step. This time, right here at home. They signed a rights recognition agreement with the Musqueam. On paper, it covers traditional territories that include much of Metro Vancouver and all of this riding, North Vancouver-Capilano. The Liberal government says this deal doesn't touch private property owners. After everything that has happened, you would expect that promise to be written down in clear language. It isn't. There are no clear, mapped-out boundaries in the document. There is no line that explicitly says, fee simple homeowners are protected. Thomas Isaac, one of Canada's leading experts on land rights, has reviewed this agreement. His view is that the government's reassurances don't carry much weight because the wording is so vague. When the law is vague, risk flows downhill, first to lenders, then to buyers and sellers, and finally to ordinary families like yours who just want to trust that their home is secure. And this is not the end of it. It is only the beginning. Right now, 3 new modern treaties are moving through the system towards ratification. They cover large parts of British Columbia. They will sit on top of the existing patchwork of laws and agreements that we already have. You already know what is missing from these new deals. Clear, written protection for private property owners. These agreements also build in UNDRIP as a guiding framework. That matters. It pushes the law in the direction of free, prior, and informed consent on major decisions that affect Indigenous rights. Lawyers and governments are still arguing over exactly what this will mean in practice. But here's what it means for you. More uncertainty over approvals for housing, infrastructure, and resource projects right across this province. And unlike earlier major treaties, these new agreements must be renegotiated every 10 years. That means every decade, the rules can be reopened and rewritten. In plain language, that builds uncertainty right into the system itself. The Cowichan ruling created uncertainty. The Musqueam Agreement deepened it. These 3 treaties risk locking it in for a generation. Reconciliation with Indigenous peoples matters. Done properly, reconciliation creates clarity for everyone: First Nations, homeowners, businesses, and government. That clarity belongs in the legal documents themselves, not just in press conferences and casual talking points. What we have instead is a pattern. A Liberal government that quietly weakened its own legal position back in 2018. A Liberal government that signed a major agreement over this region without clearly spelling out protections for private property in the text. A Liberal government that voted no when Parliament had the chance to direct federal lawyers to protect private property rights and put them back on the table. And now the same Liberal government is moving ahead with new treaties that repeat the same gap and make it part of the system for decades at a time. That is not bad luck. That is a pattern of negligence. In a by-election, you don't simply choose a name on a ballot. You send a message. In North Vancouver, Capilano, that message can be very simple. Our homes matter. Our savings matter. Our private property rights matter. Ottawa needs to hear clearly that any plan for reconciliation must also protect the families who have bought homes, built businesses, and put down roots here. That protection has to be written into the agreements themselves, not left to vague assurances after the fact. I'm Stephen Curran. On voting day, you can tell the Liberal government that this pattern of quiet, careless decisions is simply not good enough. Not for your home, not for your neighborhood, and not for this riding. On property rights, let's send the Liberal government a message.